This is your weekly media list. So I'm Bryony, I'm a brand strategist, I'm a mum, and I'm a woman who's just generally trying to juggle it all. And when I have time to myself, I like to read books, I like to watch TV series, I like to binge TV series, and I also like to keep up with the world of brand and marketing through podcasts. If any of that sounds of interest, then keep listening because I'm going to be sharing the top things that I've really engaged with this last week. So let's start with the obvious one, off campus. And I think if you haven't seen or heard anything about off campus at this point, you must be living under a rock, because I think I was definitely one of the last people to watch it that I know of. I was home in the evening on my own, I was doing some work and I had my laptop out on the sofa, and I just put the telly on and I thought I'll put something on just in the background. And I had seen so much, it just kept coming up on social media, like off campus, like literally my phone was like begging me to watch it. And so I put it on, just not really thinking anything of it. And because I had seen it was there and I did keep looking at it, but every time I read the synopsis, I was a bit like, it sounds really like young and boring and just cheesy, not my vibe, right? Well, I was wrong, okay? I'll admit it. And I'm fine with admitting it because that show is addictive. And I think they're actually already filming the second season, so thank goodness for that. But like, you know, it's got the drama, it's got the good looking cast, it's very sexy. But like loads of TV shows are like that, you know, you've always got good looking actors and you know, all of that. So I was kind of sat there thinking, why is it so like engaging? Why has everyone gone crazy about this? And I think it's the dialogue. I think the script is really, really good and it's really interesting and quite different to anything that we've seen before. And I think it really shows that it's written by a woman. Like these are male characters written by a woman. So yeah, I think that's quite interesting when you think about it like that. And I do think that everyone young should be watching it because I think it has a lot of stuff that you can learn from it about consent and female pleasure. And yeah, I just really think that young men should be watching it. Not to like, you know, lecture them, but like they could have really good game if they watch this program, like seriously. So yeah, it's still in my algorithm in a much bigger way now, because now I can't get away from it because Instagram's constantly just showing me interviews with all the cast who are all like really like funny, you know, smart people, and yeah, it's just fueling the addiction, unfortunately. So I've just finished my latest book, which is The Wedding People, and I'm always trying to look for a book at the moment. I have this like endless pursuit of looking for something that's just like a little bit different in some way. I think when I was younger, I got massively stuck in a rut of just reading psychological thrillers and like detective crime series and things like that. So now I've been trying to like read books that are probably more character driven, and this one's really funny because it's got, again, great dialogue, but really fun characters, interesting characters, and really different characters. I like that when you read a book. I think it's really like poor writing when you read a book and you feel like everyone kind of talks the same and sounds the same. So in this book they are very different, they're polar opposites, like the two lead female characters in it. And the whole time I was reading it I could totally picture it as a movie. So it's written really well, like you can imagine the scenes, and as I say, the dialogue's really funny. So it's a nice, and it's got a really unique narrative, so definitely worth reading. But now I need a book recommendation because I spent ages looking for another book, and Yesteryear, I think it's called. Is that what it's called? Let me check. Yeah, it is called Yesteryear. Yesteryear by Caro Claire Burke. So Yesteryear by Caro Claire Burke keeps coming up, so I might have to read that. It's £10 on a Kindle. I was like, oh, okay, it's quite a lot of money. The last time I spent a lot of money on a book, it was like 15 quid on a Kindle, and I really didn't like it. I think I was trying to be really like, I must read better books, I must read, you know, award-winning books and stuff like that, and then I was like, too far, Brony, too far. Yeah, I couldn't get into it, so yeah, but Yesteryear keeps coming up, so I feel like that might be my next book. So lately I've been struggling to find podcasts on, you know, branding, brand community, marketing that have really caught my attention. And I mean lately as in like literally the last week or so, and normally I'm kind of like consuming lots of podcasts and everything, but I've turned a few on and ended up switching them off because if anything gets too techie, too data driven, too frameworky in a really detailed way, like don't get me wrong, I like a framework, like a strategy, a plan, a step-by-step plan in a simple sense, but if it gets too like in the detail, and there's a lot of digital marketing podcasts out there, and although I do digital marketing, I think I'm much more like brand strategist, which is different, and yeah, I can't listen to them. So luckily my favourite brand podcast, Building Brand Advocacy, came out with a belter. To be honest, I think it was like April and May they put them out, but it was 2 episodes with Grace Andrews, who is one of my favourite marketing creators. She's just obviously flying at the moment. She's doing so well. So to see them come together on a podcast was amazing, and they obviously sat down with her for a long time and managed to get 2 episodes out of it. So the first one I listened to this week, and it's all about your employees within a corporate organisation being brand advocates, being, you know, those people out there talking about your brand. So the podcast with Grace Andrews was really interesting because from my perspective, I have an employed role where I am a head of marketing and communications of a group of companies. And I've done stuff in the past with our employees where we have I've done like workshops to get people up to speed on social media, and then sort of given them tips and ideas of things that they might want to talk about that is related to the company, and if they do, then use a hashtag so that we can track it. That was a while ago though, so that was just how we were doing it then, but we haven't done a lot since then, and so listening to this kind of reignited that interest in it, and I think it's becoming more popular. I think it's a really natural progression. You know, everybody does use social media now, and I think more and more people are using things like LinkedIn to build their own profile. And I think if there is anyone within your company who is interested in, you know, building their career, if they're ambitious, then they are interested probably in having a bit of a profile. And if they want to do that, an employer shouldn't be scared of that. They should encourage it, because it's really a win-win for everyone. You know, it makes the company look good, the individual feels happy, they still feel like they're not being held back, you know. So yeah, I think Grace Andrews is doing a lot more work in that field, and it's an area of her business that she's now offering as a service to organisations that want to do this employee brand advocacy stuff. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the brand world. The second episode that they did with Grace is I think it's a bit shorter, and it's quite a simple one. It was like a 5-step plan to building your brand content. I think I've just butchered that. Right, let's start again. It was like a 5-step plan, 5 steps to building your content plan. Wow, why was that so hard? Okay, so it was something like that anyway, but it sounds really good because I love stuff like that that's just short, snappy, easy to digest, and it gets you thinking. So I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm going to watch it on YouTube because I think it's a visual one. I think there might be a little bit of a whiteboard moment. So I think I'm going to watch that one on YouTube. So this next one I was going to talk about, how do you discover your new podcasts? Because as someone who consumes a lot, I find it really hard sometimes to find new things to listen to that I really want to listen to. So that's obviously why I started doing this, but also the only way I find at the moment that I find something that I really engage with, where I go, oh right, okay, like that, like the sound of that, is if I'm already listening to a podcast and they have a guest on and they interview them and that person is a podcaster, then I'll check out their podcast. So that is what happened here. I was listening to Ladies Who Launch, and Rochelle Humes was interviewing The Girls Bathroom, who I had never heard of before, but apparently their show is huge. So I'm going to just look up their names as well. So it's Sophia Tuxford and Cynthia Bayliss-Zulo. And I loved listening to them on the podcast because they talked all about their backstory and how they went to school together, and they've been best friends since school days. And they just started a blog together, basically, and I think all the other kids at school must have thought they were nuts. And they said that, they were like, yeah, we were kind of seen as a bit odd for doing it. But then obviously they've built this huge empire, this brand empire, all based on community, and they're still best friends. And it's a really lovely, inspiring story. And I think that is like every girl's dream, right? You build an amazing business that you just have fun, where you just have fun with your best friend. So we'll have to check out the girls' bathroom. I don't know why I hadn't heard. I mean, I probably haven't heard of it because I'm like elder millennial, obviously, and then maybe they are. I don't know if they're Gen Z. I don't know if they're millennial as well. But yeah, it hasn't come up on my radar before, so something to look into. And then the final one that I've been consuming this week is Career Come Down, a book by Stephanie Sword-Williams, which I have been dipping in and out of for quite a while. And I just need some headspace to really sit down and just get through it, because every time I pick it up, I have like a new idea, and I just think if I get to the end of this, I know that it's going to really inspire me and give me lots of creative ideas to do stuff like this outside of my employed role. So yeah, I just need to really get through it. So that was your media list for the week from me. What are you listening to? Have you got any book recommendations for me? Because I need a new book to read, and TV recommendations because I need to get off campus. Yeah, let me know in the comments, and I'll be back next week with what I've been listening to, reading, watching next week.